Okay, so the other side of this, how do you move that aggregate demand curve? How do you affect the economy? Is monetary policy. And I just want to touch on it for a minute. Monetary, I hope I'm in front of the camera. Good. Policy. This is where the Federal Reserve, and we call the Fed for short, affects the supply of money in the country. They change the money supply. We don't need to get into the real nitty-gritty parts of it, but basically, if they increase the money supply, that causes interest rates to fall and makes people spend and businesses spend more money. Okay?
What's the I for?
Interest rate. Does this sound like a pretty good idea for today? Should the Fed increase the interest rate?
Change the money supply.
Should they increase the money supply? Deltas change. Should the Fed be increasing the money supply to keep interest rates low to try to stimulate more spending? Is that what we need today? The answer generally is yes. We wanted more aggregate demand. Remember that? The danger is, and you alluded to it earlier, if they do too much of that for too long and you get too much aggregate demand, what do you get? You get inflation.
Yeah,
okay. But today, given the level of unemployment we have and the low level of spending, this is not. I don't think there's a danger of inflation in the short term, in the next couple of years. This would be called a stimulatory monetary policy. Stimulatory or expansionary or an easy money policy. You're trying to goose or grow the economy, okay? If you have an economy with high inflation, what do?
The opposite.
The opposite. If you've got inflationary problems, you reduce the money supply, which drives up interest rates, reduces spending, and brings down inflation. So this would be called a tight money policy or a restrictive monetary policy. But we haven't seen too much of that. We probably won't unless inflation gets to be a real danger. Tight or restrictive. Another word would be contractionary. You are contracting the money supply and spending. This is what they did back in 1979. They drove interest rates through the roof. It collapsed the economy for a couple of years. You could also go out and buy bonds back then that were paying 18%. And if you had one of them today, they'd be worth a fortune. Most Americans have no clue what the Fed does and don't pay much attention to what comes out of the Fed. But you and I, both in our personal financial management and in our general knowledge of the world, need to be listening to this. There are 7 people on the Board of Governors for the Federal Reserve.
Don't they keep them even with different presidents? They stay the same, don't they?
They are very independent from the political process.
No matter who the different presidents come, these people stay the same.
Let me explain that one to you for just a minute. You've got 7 people, I'll be on the board here, 7 people on the Board of Governors. There's 5, 6, 7. Each one serves 14 years for their term of office, and they cannot be reappointed. Okay? But they're there for 14 years. They don't get elected. They get appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, just like a Supreme Court justice. At the end of 14 years, they can't stay. They've got to go.
Is this a staggered thing?
Yes.
Every 2 years?
Every 2 years, one of their terms expires. His expires this year. His expires in 2014. His expires in 2016. which means that the president, even if he's there for 2 terms, can only appoint 4 of the 7, and by then he's gone. So they don't directly report to anybody. It's tough to get rid of them. Sometimes it's tough to find somebody to serve, because most of the folks who get picked for this are either very well-reputed bankers or academics, usually in the field of economics. But what this does is it insulates them from politics. So if they have to do something that's unpopular, they can do it. And this is what happened back in 1979. A guy named Paul Volcker was the chair of the Fed, and he said, inflation's 12%, we're going to fix it. It's going to cause a recession, a lot of you are going to lose jobs, it's going to be a tough time, but we're going to fix it. And when he raised interest rates through the roof, prime rate, the rate of interest Bill Gates would pay if he took out a personal loan, 21%. For you and me to go in off the street back there about 1980, 81 and borrow money, yeah, here's a 30% personal loan. People stopped borrowing money. People stopped spending. The economy tanked. Unemployment rose to 11%. But by 1983, inflation's gone from 12% to 4.5%. And then the economy recovered. So it was a very painful 2.5 years, during which time the name Paul Volcker, the chairman of the Fed, was synonymous with that son of a bitch. It all came out in one word. Paul Volcker, that son of a bitch. Okay. Now, Paul Volcker's 6 foot 6 inches tall, bald-headed, smokes great big cigars, and doesn't give a damn. He stayed there until 1987. In 1987, and this is worth remembering, Alan Greenspan became the chairman of the Fed. And Alan Greenspan is very much of that neoclassical view that the markets are best. And he was hailed as a saint, because from 1987 up until about 2005, well, he left in 2006. He stayed more than 14 years. We'll talk about that later. But everybody said he was just so great. But when he left in 2006, he had set us up for the big crunch that fell on us in 2008. And even he admits it, that his belief in the efficacy and efficiency of markets was misplaced. And so today, among people who like to blame the right side, especially Alan Greenspan is a son of a bitch. Now that he's gone, the current chairman is Ben Bernanke. And if you read about him in popular literature, a lot of people don't like him. They think he's supposed to be doing something different. Some say he's creating too much money, we're going to have inflation. Some say he needs to stimulate the economy more. Bottom line is, Bernanke is probably the one that got us through that big banking crisis, Lehman Brothers and all that. He's an authority on Depression-era economics. And he is probably responsible for us not going into a full-blown depression. But if Obama is not reelected, Bernanke will be gone very quickly. The right side doesn't like him at all. Now, in addition to these 7, we have 12 Federal Reserve banks around the country, 12 districts. Each one's got a president. Go ahead.
I thought you said he has to keep his 14-year term. They don't keep. I thought you said they're isolated from politics.
He could demand to stay on, but he would be destroyed. He knows that he's not going to get any support from a Republican administration.
Okay,
so he knows he's going to be frustrated.
So a president can come in and just
can't fire him. Can't fire him. We can make life uncomfortable enough, he'll go ahead and quit.
Yeah. Remember
that as well reputed as Ben Bernanke is, he's losing money working for the Fed. He can make a lot more money privately.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll be gone. He'll resign.
All right.
Now, 12 banks, 12 presidents around the country. 5 of them, plus the board, makes up the Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC. And that's the other big policy-making board that decides what are we going to do with the money supply. What are we going to do to try to fix the economy? So you want to listen to anybody from the Fed board or the Open Market Committee, and when they talk, tell everybody else shut the hell up and listen to what they say. Because they at least have more data and information than you and I do. So you've got the Congress doing fiscal policy, which is at a dead end, and you've got the Federal Reserve over here doing whatever the hell they want because they don't have to stand for election. And you and I are hoping that it all falls out without falling apart. Okay? Monetary policy, fiscal policy. understand the differences, understand how each one of them affects that graph and moves the demand curve. And later, we'll talk about people who think we can move the supply curve, supply side economics. All right? That's all of that.
Good to know.
Cool.